Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick heads up. The second Global Product Owner Summit is coming soon. You can get all the details at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. And it's all lowercase, all one word. Oh, and stick with us until the end of the episode to know the dates and the tracks that we have for you in this year's summit. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special bonus episode where we have a tag team of guests. Today we have Maartje Jansen and Fennande van der Molen. Did I pronounce that correctly, Fennande?
Yeah, very well done, Vasco.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Maartje specializes in improving work culture using the Happy Office method. We'll talk more about that in today's episode. Emphasizing positive organizational environments, she addresses issues like unclear company values and negative workplace dynamics. Her approach includes workshops, extensive programs, and evidence-based strategies grounded in scientific research aimed at enhancing workplace happiness and productivity. Fennande, who's a colleague of Maartje, is an expert in workplace happiness and positive culture, co-leading Woohoo Unlimited. We'll put the link to that on the show notes. Utilizing the Happy Office method, she offers online training, workshops, and in-depth programs to enhance work happiness, culture, and productivity. Her approach is evidence-based, rooted in science, and internationally recognized. And they have an approach to positive work culture that we're going to talk about in today's episode. But first, Maartje, why don't we start with you? How did you get started talking and writing about happiness at work? What's your origin story?
Now, to be honest, Vasco, I think I will pass this to Fennande because it started with her and a conversation with her and her neighbor. So yeah, I think that's the best way to start, right?
Fine, yeah. Well, we both have a background in marketing, internal, external communication, and internal journalism. So in a way, purpose and engagement have always been part of our work. And then I think it's 8 years ago, it was Christmas, and me and my husband, we had drinks, a glass of wine with our neighbors. And the neighbor, he told me about this concept of happiness at work, because he's actually the first person that hired the first ever chief happiness officer in the Netherlands. He told me about what it had meant for his company to put happiness of the employees as the number one goal. And at that time, this whole idea was completely new to us. But in that moment, drinking that glass of wine, I really realized that that was the way forward. Because, even back then, there were so many challenges that organizations were facing. And we really believed that we need all of the employees on board 100% of the time. They have to be healthy, they have to be happy, they have to be engaged. So if we do not put our employees first and clients second, and we would say shareholders third, we will not get to that point. So we realized that well-being, happiness of employees was so crucial. So together with the neighbor, we founded Happy Office. And back then, people thought that we were a bit crazy. And they asked us, Fennande and Maartje, what kind of fluffy thing are you starting now? But we really believed in this whole concept, in this idea. And so we continued. And it hasn't always been easy, but I think we've made great progress over the last 8 years. And I think we've come very far since then.
So nearly a decade ago, as we record this podcast, and I'm pretty sure that the challenges you faced at the time are quite different from the challenges you face today. And I'm reminded of a phrase I read a long time ago, which was somebody who worked at Toyota was talking about, we hear that at whatever the American company was, they hire two hands and they don't know what to do with the brain. At Toyota, we think the opposite. We think we hire the brain, and as a bonus, we get two hands. And that reflects a totally different perspective on the human part of running a business, and in that case, running a whole manufacturing operation. Have you seen the difference also in how you interact with other companies? Do you feel that dichotomy, let's say, of companies that want to hire whole people and bring people in, and through their potential, one could say, amplify the business, and others who think that people are just like machines that they can optimize?
Yeah, well, I think, over time, a lot have changed. So when we 8 years ago started Happy Office, there were a lot of people in managing positions that are actually raised in the workplace with the whole idea that everything was about profit. In the 90s, you just went to work, you got paid, and for the rest, well, shut up. And I think a lot has changed since then. We now look in a very different way to people and their contributions and how we deal with talent, and thinking that kind of old-fashioned way of thinking, I think we have left that behind now, but back then that was really the normal way of thinking. So but I think really it has really changed now. So we're looking much more indeed about the well-being of people, and how can we not only use the hands, but especially the brains and their character and their personality and their talents. And that all has become much clearer for everyone in the last couple of years. Not for everyone, unfortunately, but most people realize that's actually what we need.
How about you, Maartje? How did you experience this several years in the business, and how it started? What kind of maybe conversations or projects you were getting at the time versus what is happening these days?
And it's interesting because I did a few decades ago, I did my university degree in how to build a work culture, not especially positive or whatever, but how to build culture, and how culture can serve your organization to flourish. And when I finished university, people were thinking that I had the worst kind of university background you could ever have. In anthropology. So they thought, okay, well, what can you do with anthropology within organizations? Because what Fennande said, it's all about profit, and they were not thinking that culture would influence strategy and business, or that you could do anything about it. And of course, there were people struggling with their strategies, and they understood that there was something that was holding them back from getting the right results, but they thought it was not you couldn't influence it. It was not something that they could control. So, and now what you see, and throughout the work with Happiness at Work, that you do, that you are interested in what people need, that you get more insights about what people need to flourish, what they want, and how you can connect that to strategy, and that culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's something that way of thinking, especially after Corona, it went sky high, because everybody understood then that there are so many things that can happen without influencing something, and that you need a strong culture, that people need to know why are they going to work, what are the things that connects them, what keeps them together. That is really important, and to translate purpose and values to specific behaviors, structures.
So when you're talking about culture eating strategy for breakfast, is a famous Peter Drucker quote, and it started coming up in the late 90s at least. And when I started to be more active in things that relate to culture, so in agile adoption and changing the perspective that managers have and so on, it became quite a big topic, right? Like this idea that you really need to influence culture some way. And it's very easy for me to imagine how somebody with an anthropology degree would think that, yes, culture is an outcome, It's not something that just emerges. There are many things that influence culture. And the culture specifically that both of you talk about is, you talk about it as happiness at work. Your company is called Happy Office. Can you elaborate on what happiness at work means for you? Like how do you structure it? How do you define it? How do you look at it when you go into a client? What is happiness at work for you?
Yeah, well, there are many definitions, of course, because there are many authors and scientists that have covered the topic, and there's like a library full of books that you can read about it nowadays. But the best definition of happiness at work has actually been given to us by one of our clients, and he said happiness at work is when you're whistling on your way to work and whistling on your way back home. So you're on your bike, you're whistling, but it's not something that you think, oh, let me start whistling now. You know, it just happens because you feel energized, because you look forward to the day, because you look forward to seeing your colleagues again and working together. And you're also whistling on your singing or whatever. I can't whistle very well, but singing is also an option, of course. Then that if you're singing on your bike back home, then you still have the energy to do something else, and you feel, of course, you can be tired, but you're also energized by the work that you've done and by the progress that you've made and the fun that you had with colleagues at work. So yeah, that's actually the feeling that I think. Yes, I think it's really the best definition. And when we look at what science says about what makes us happy, and we of course always ask those questions in our workshops. What is it that makes you happy at work? And you can't ask that question directly, because people then come up with the answers like, oh, I want more holiday, or I want a bigger car, or whatever. I want the free bananas at work. And actually, that's not what makes people happy. But when we look at what science says about happiness at work, we see that there are 4 pillars. So we named them the 4 P's of happiness at work, and they all start with a P, so they're easy to remember. And the first one is purpose, which is all about meaning, about contributing to something that's important to you, to contribute to a bigger goal, something that's bigger than yourself. The second is people. That's about connection, feeling safe at work, feeling that you are seen by your colleagues, that you can work together, that you can be sad and cry at work if needed, but that you can also be a bit silly and have fun. The third one is progress, which means, well, making progress, of course, in meaningful work, which is about getting things done. At the end of the day, this feeling of, yes, this was really a great day. I did a lot of work and I love it. But it's also about learning new things, about being good at what you do. Yeah, and feeling good about it. And, sometimes in our daily work, we are so quick with saying, okay, I ticked that box, I did it, and now forget about it. It's done. But then we forget to, get this feeling of, yes. And I think that's something that's really challenging to do in our daily work, because we're also busy, but it's also very important for your happiness.
And if you are not busy, there's another meeting coming anyway.
Yeah, which is not energizing, probably. And then the fourth pillar is positivity, which has everything to do with fun, with enjoying yourself, but also with the right balance of energy. What gives you energy, what drains your energy, and how do you feel positive overall? So it's purpose, people, progress, and positivity.
How about you, Maartje? How do you look at these 4 aspects from your background? Of course, you studied a very specific perspective on these 4, let's call it pillars, as you call them. What does an anthropologist think about these 4 pillars? Where do they come from? How do you guys even arrive to these 4?
Yeah, now the thing is that, as Fernande already said, there is a lot of science. There's a lot of interest in this topic lately. So there are a lot of people already did research and did surveys, and of course, it's an outcome of that. When you look at the basic needs of people, as an anthropologist, people are the center of what you investigate, what you do research for. So that's the thing that's the way we look. So what do people need? How do people work? How do people get together in ancient groups and stuff? That's the way an anthropologist looks at work. And of course, meaning, and I can talk for myself, meaning is so important. I really like to contribute something. And a lot of people, sometimes people say, well, I don't need to contribute, but it's very important for all of us in a way. And it starts already with earning money and providing an income for you and your family. That's also part of meaning. So from an anthropologistic view, I don't know, it is meaning is very important. And of course, and we all know that people are herd animals in a way. We really like to be part of a group. So connection, feeling connected, feeling belonging, all those things are really important as well. So of course we want to belong at work as well. We want to feel connected. We want to have colleagues we can have fun with. We want friends at work. How many relationships start at work, right? So that's also very important. And progress, that's we want to develop. Not only we want to reach results in the work we do. We want to contribute to something. As a smaller part of the big whole, the small steps contributing day by day, but also we want to develop ourselves. So that's also part of progress. So that's from a more cultural it's such
anthropological.
A hard
Yeah. No worries. We all know what you're talking about. Don't worry.
Exactly.
So one thing that is really key for me, I even started my own approach to project management called No Estimates because of this, because I've experienced firsthand, not in myself, but in the people around me, what burnout means. And it is so critical that some people never recover from it. They create internal chemical imbalances to the point where people are unable to work anymore. Mm-hmm. So it is a serious matter for us as humans and for the people who we care about, right? Like our friends, our family, and of course our co-workers. And I know that you guys also think and talk and practice around this topic. And I know that this was a huge topic also during Corona, because we finally got to a point which I think is the favorite point of the, let's call it the profitists, right? The ones that want to maximize profit, because you could get somebody to work 10, 12 hours per day, not have to lose any time on commuting and not having to clock out, because they basically were just a few steps away from their workplace, sitting at the kitchen table or desk or whatever that might be. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about burnout and of course also the other side, productivity and well-being, what are the key ideas that you developed and incorporated into your method around this caring for people's well-being and of course avoiding and eliminating, if possible, burnout?
Well, first, I think it's important to say that we are not experts on burnout. And burnout is a serious and complicated matter. But what we do know is that in positive work cultures, people are more open to share what's going on. And they're also more open to say, hey, Vasco, I got the idea that you're working 10 hours a day. I think you should take more care of yourself. They're more open to speak on how they feel. They take care of each other. But being happy at work also makes you stronger, and it makes you better able to cope with stress. And, have a better balance in, work life are so intertwined nowadays, and I think that's completely fine. But you still need to be very aware of how you feel. And I think we all know this point when we cross this line, when, we're actually, you can see all the, you have to learn how to see all the signs of, I start making more mistakes. I get headaches. I am stressed. I can't sleep. I'm not so really nice to my husband and my children. And I think when we learn to see those signs for ourselves, and in a positive culture, our colleagues can also help us, because I remember days when Maartje said to me, Fennande, you're a bit, I don't know, cranky, or is everything okay? And maybe you're, getting too much work on your shoulders. So take care. And I think that's one of the things that when you start focusing on happiness at work in a company and you take it seriously, that are also getting really important and getting, more, they're more on the agenda, and well-being of people. And that is, of course, really important. And also when you want to be aware of the topic of burnout.
And one thing that, of course, burnout, or in any case, stress from work leads to is lack of creativity, lack of cooperation, and eventually, of course, loss of productivity. How do you tackle these topics that are both important for the, let's call it, peopleists, the people who want to be people-centered, and the profitists, the ones who want to be profit-centered? How do you introduce these ideas of how happiness at work influence factors like creativity, cooperation, productivity?
The interesting thing is that what we see is we also provide workshops about stress, and not, as we said, we're not burnout specialists, but how can you prevent people from being stressed, to get too much stress? And the interesting thing is, when you work on those 4 pillars, purpose, people, progress, and positivity, you also make them more resilient. So working on a positive work culture also prevents people from stress. So it's 2 sides of the same coin. And let me express it a little bit. Like when you work on purpose, people can handle more stress when they feel that their work is meaningful. And of course, they also get more attached, so they need more time to recover from stress. But the fact that they do something and it's worth the effort, give them more energy, more reasons to accomplish. So they can handle more. They can handle more work. When they feel connected, when they do it together with others, then there's also research. A big American research has been on this topic, that when people feel that they are connected, they can handle more stress. And the results are really, really significant. And also, when you think that stress is good for you because you want to make progress, then you also can handle more. And it's also the way your body reacts, more like the same kind of chemicals when you do something heroic or something like that. So your body, the physical part, also reacts different. And that's an interesting research for this. But when you work on the pillars for more happiness at work, it also increases resilience with people. And that's something. And if you are more resilient, so you're less stressed, then you are better in engaging because you cooperate better with your colleagues. If you think, okay, well, everybody wants to help me, I'm in a safe surroundings, then your mind is really more open. So you give people help and you accept help. And in that way,
less cranky, right?
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, but it's how it works. And we all know this. It's not rocket science, but we forget it because we are so focused on results. But if you take care of the other things as well, then results will be there, because people really are intrinsic motivated to get it done.
So let's take this further into some practical perspective, because those are the high level ideas, but what are some practical steps organizations can take and maybe have taken from those that you have worked with to foster happiness and a positive work culture? Let's start with simple ones and then we can talk about more advanced steps. But what are some key simple things organizations can start doing to improve workplace culture?
Yep.
Well, I think what's really a great start and also a really simple one is just talk about it. Just talk about with your team about what does happiness at work mean for you. How do you look at the 4 pillars? What are the grades that you give yourself for the last week on the 4 pillars, and see where you can improve from there. What's interesting when people start with happiness at work, and also when they want to prevent burnout, you often see that they are doing a lot of stuff like free fruits and mindfulness courses and yoga classes, etc. And great, that's absolutely great. You should absolutely do it, but that's not what's going to make the big change. The bigger change you can make the bigger change if you start working on culture, and you can do that with very little steps. But it's also, I think, really important to look at the bigger picture, and as an organization, look at where you are now. Where do you want to go? What kind of culture do you want to have? But it always starts with tiny steps. And I think we approach this culture change program in a very agile way. Just experiment and do it step by step, but always start very small and build from there. Because in the old days, we used to have those culture programs that took a year, and then in the end, nothing really changed. And we really don't believe in that kind of change anymore nowadays. And I think you, as agile peopleists, you don't believe in it as well.
I believe that anyone that is a peopleist knows that planning something that affects how people behave a year ahead is never going to work. And if it does, it's just because something unexpected happened in the middle and nobody noted it down in the plan, because if they had, they would notice it wasn't in the plan and they would stop it. So and talking about change, of course, change is a big topic, right? Because improving culture in a workplace is also a change process. And one of the most common challenges that our listeners face is that of making change stick. So what have you learned that helps make changes stick in those companies and clients you worked with?
What really helps, what we see is that we start talking about what happiness at work is, and by asking people, what was your best working experience? Because what still is very strong in organizations is that people, we thought no one can be against happiness at work because that's a topic everybody will embrace, right? But there are people that have strong feelings, resistance. So you need to talk about what it is. So it's not something fluffy. It's very practical. It's not about being happy all the time. So starting by asking those questions is also the start for a culture, because culture change starts with having the same language on the right topics. So it starts with sometimes with a workshop or with conversations, or just do something to get people on the same page about what happiness at work is. And it's not something to be to have resistance to, or it's not something that you need to be because you did something wrong. It's about what can you do, what do you need to create a safe environment where what do you need to flourish. And of course, it's not only about what do you need and everybody needs to be some kind of that everybody needs to be, how do you say that, cuddled, and it's also about goals, and it's also about taking care of your organization. It needs to have certain results, progress. You need to make sure that your organization can flourish as well. It's not only about you, it's about you, your colleagues, and the organization. So that's the first step. You need to have that conversation. And then it's also very important that you know, that you can tell them, what do you need and what can you do together to to create that. So what we also think is that you need people throughout the organization to join in some kind of ambassador team or happiness ambassadors, whatever, that you collect people from different part of the organization to find out what do you need to make sure that you feel happy, that you feel safe, that you feel seen, that you feel appreciated. And how do you make that concrete? And that's not one recipe that goes for every organization. You need to find out what works for you. And that's exactly why agile is really important. Try things. Start with something like, okay, how can we be more connected? And yes, of course, the parties and stuff, they work, but you have to find out, okay, well, does this kind of party work for us? Or do we need to adjust things? And most of the time you start with connection and with positivity, but then you have to go to work as well. What do we need to make progress? What do we need to make our work more meaningful? So you have to ask those questions and find out, and then try something. And if it doesn't work, stop, do something else. But don't say, well, happiness doesn't work. No, this way, this specific thing didn't work. So try something else. And that can be very small, like a well-being program within a team. And I don't mean a big program, but let's say, okay, well, we do a step a challenge to get more to be more active, or let's do a challenge to have less meetings in our team because people have so many meetings, so they want to reduce it. Find something. Where is your problem, and what can you do in a fun way to make little steps to change?
And I also think that it's really, really important, if you want the change to stick, is that leaders model the behavior. And if you want to have a happy company, you have to be happy as a leader as well. So you have to show what makes you happy. You have to talk about it. And talking, that's about happiness, but it's also about other behavioral change. You have to show people what the desired behavior is, because that's much more effective than just tell someone else to change their behavior.
So let's turn those dials all the way up to 11, as they say. And these ideas that we've been talking about, the 4 pillars, these experiment ideas that we just discussed, what would happen to companies that would turn that all the way up to 11, like really take it seriously, the ideas that you talk about and help companies with? What would the company that would take those ideas to their logical extent look like?
One thing that what they look like, and one thing that really would be amazing, that are the companies that people really want to work for. So they don't have any problems with finding the right people, because they know exactly what kind of people they need in their organization. They have the right circumstances because people feel safe, and they know how to motivate the people that work at their organization. That's what we see with the companies that have happiness at work and the pillars in the center of their values, in the center of the way they work. We see that they attract the right people. People stay, so they have less retention, they have less sick leave, they have less all those stuff. The only thing is, and then I want to, because 11 is not a state of it's not stable. It always goes less, because we live in a world that is volatile, that things changing all the time. So 11 can be a certain state for a certain period of time, but then it goes down. Even if you do everything as very good and you do everything that's necessary. So you have to work and you have to change all the time. Culture is changing if you do something about it or not. So you have to know, and you have to work on it all the time. And I think that if you bring it to 11, you are aware of the fact that your organization culture is always changing, and that the only thing that you talk about together and the things that you say is that, okay, well, we try to do it as good as we can, and we need you to join us, and we do it together, and just speak out, and let's do it together. Because the thing is, with HR or others think that they need to make other people happy.
It starts with us, of course.
Let's do it together, and then people feel involved and engaged, and I think that's how you can have, let's say it, the way all up to 11 all the time. I'm not sure if you reach that for a long time. I hope that's not pessimistic.
I think it's a very important recognition as well, that culture is dynamic, right? It's not a static thing. And if you really want to take it all the way up to 11, then you also have to accept that when you get there, there will be another 11. Right, it's always changing. Yeah. It's been a pleasure to have both of you here on the podcast talk about this such an important topic that has also been a hot topic in the Agile community, happiness at work. Now, before we go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing? Let's start with Fennande.
Well, on our LinkedIn profiles, of course, but also on our website, woohoounlimited.com. There we tell more about what we do, about our community, and about the Chief Happiness Officer course that we give. And you can find everything there, and I hope you find it useful.
Absolutely, we'll put the link on the show notes to all of those. How about you, Maartje?
Yeah, I think that it's in Dutch. So on happyoffice.nl for the people that can read Dutch. There's a lot of information as well. And of course, you can translate things very easy. And there you can read a little bit more about the workshops and also the programs we provide in organizations. And of course, we have a book, right? We have an English version of the book, the Happy Office Manifesto. And we have a launch page, happyofficemanifesto.com. There you can find a link to the book, and of course we also have a Dutch version. So that's both.
Absolutely, we'll put the link to that also on the show notes. And talking about books, let's finish with a question to inspire our listeners to research this further, to learn more about how they could apply these ideas. So we'll definitely put the link to the Happy Office Manifesto book on the show notes. But other than that, what is one resource that you'd recommend for those who want to dive deeper into the topic of happiness at work? Maartje, let's start with you.
Ooh, there are so many nice books and I'm completely. I really like everything about organizational culture and or psychological safety. But for me, the first thing that comes up now is when you look at research, more research into this topic. I have to ask Fennande because she's the library of the both of us. So maybe you can give two books, Fennande, because I'm not sure about the title.
I have a whole section. I have my book. My personal library is really huge. So I have a section on science and I have a section on it. But what really is my favorite. There are two authors, and I think you should read everything from them. It's Amy Edmondson. She has a new book, and I haven't read it yet, but I think it's amazing because the book before that is about psychological safety, which is really connected to happiness at work, of course. So I would definitely recommend her. And the other one, and I know that Maartje is also a big fan of him, is Adam Grant. And his book, Rethink, I think that was really, it's like you start to rethink everything in life, in work, and I think that's really amazing. If someone can make you look in a very different way to like everything, and you start to question everything, and I think that's amazing. So I really love Adam Grant.
Absolutely.
And he also has a nice podcast. I don't want to bring in any competition for yours.
Oh, no, absolutely. The more the merrier. And we'll put the link to that also on the show notes so that people can quickly check Adam Grant's podcast. And thank you very much, both of you, for being here with us, discussing this important topic, and for being so generous with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you.
Yeah. We love being here.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around and listening to the details of the Product Owner Summit, this year's global summit dedicated to a critical Scrum role, the product owner role, of course. We'll have some amazing keynotes and 4 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. The summit will take place between April 23rd and 25th, so book your calendars. There will be loads of sessions for you to attend. One of the keynotes will be Dave West, the product owner and CEO at Scrum.org, one of the largest Scrum organizations in the world. If you want to know more, check out the details at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/product owner 2024. We will also have 4 tracks. The 4 tracks will cover cross-functional product ownership. That's track 1. As Pixar's Ratatouille said, not every idea can be a great idea, but a great idea can come from anywhere. And this quote emphasizes the importance of a product owner being open to all ideas, regardless of the source, and also challenges us to focus on getting good ideas from everywhere and involving the whole team in the product owner role and responsibilities. The second track is Designing Products for Growth, where we explore how to craft products ready for scalable growth, merging practical strategies with innovation. The idea here is to learn to design products for growth, whether it is sales or customer acquisition. The third track is Know Your Users, user-centric approaches for agile development. In this track, we learn to master user-centric techniques in agile development, to deeply understand customer needs and transform insights into meaningful UX designs that focus on engagement and satisfaction. This is a track ideal for innovation-focused agile teams. And the fourth track, one of the most exciting tracks in my opinion, is product development with AI, ideas for product owners. Not only do we discuss about using AI in the products, but also AI for product owners to learn to make a bigger impact with the help of the AI tools that we already have. The Product Owner Summit will also present to you great opportunities to network with your peers. So get your ticket and join our Slack. You can get the ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/product owner 2024. As always, we have free tickets and also the paid tickets that help to support this podcast. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all lowercase, all one word, product owner 2024. I'll see you in the summit floor.